think about diamonds, your head may go straight to high top earrings or a tennis bracelet. But the panelists that are about to join us today are designers and creators of some of the coolest and most disruptive pieces you will ever see. They're pushing the boundaries of design by creating unique styles that are contemporary natural diamond icons. Let me introduce you to our amazing panel. Solange Azagury Partridge is a designer of exuberant, emotional, feminine jewelry. She has been designing jewelry for more than 30 years, and her work is exhibited in museums and sold throughout the world. Rahul Jhaveri is the co-founder and creative director of Bombay-based jewelry brand Studio Renn. At the studio, they use a material agnostic approach to focus on unusual materials and innovative forms for their pieces. Anita Ko is an internationally renowned award-winning fine jewelry brand based in LA. She creates contemporary luxury pieces with a unique twist designed for the modern woman. Thank you so much for being here today, all of you.
Thank you so much for having us.
Okay, I'm gonna direct my first question to you, Anita. You're making pieces that are so unique. How do you focus on also making it something you enjoy?
Well, my first, when I design, I always consider if it's wearable or if it's a piece that I'll be wearing often or my clients can really incorporate in their daily lives, because my whole concept is about, whether something costs $100 or $100,000, it's if you wear it, that's all that really matters, that you enjoy it. So I think that I really like to create things, whether it's whimsical or not, that the most important thing is that it's incorporated into your daily lifestyle. So
and that is something you enjoy creating, even for if you had to create jewelry for yourself, would that be the kind of jewelry that you also make?
Yeah, I definitely create design for myself, for my friends, I'm so influenced by my lifestyle in Los Angeles and how, we dress and live. And so it's really about creating pieces that you love, and that are going to be enjoyed and displayed and sparkly and bring you to make me, and I hope all my clients and all the men and women out there that enjoy it, to feel more beautiful, more powerful, more sexy, cool, light.
Amazing. Solange, what about you? What inspires you? Anita said she draws inspiration from her surroundings and from LA. What about you? What do you think gets you ticking?
Well, I'm a big reader, so I start panicking if I don't have a book to read, and it's anything from literature to art or science. In fact, things that I don't particularly understand, I quite enjoy. Carlo Rovelli, he's a quantum physicist, and I'm reading a book by him at the moment, and I don't really understand 90% of it, but I find it really sparks my imagination. Obviously nature, architecture. I also love language. I was a language student before I started designing jewelry, so I love play on words, and just sometimes a simple word could spark my imagination. So inspiration is everywhere, so it's just a question of trying to adapt it to jewelry.
What do you think is the strangest thing that you were inspired by and that resulted in a piece of jewelry?
Well, I got the most terrible results in mathematics when I was at school. I failed my maths exam, but I found a book about forms of in mathematics, and I found them so beautiful that I ended up designing a diamond collection using the 5 platonic solids which are found in nature, and a diamond is in fact one of the platonic solid shapes, the octahedron, natural octahedron, and that sparked me into designing a whole diamond collection, in fact.
That's amazing. Rahul, there is a certain irreverence, especially in your approach to fine jewelry, an approach that perhaps resonates with a much younger audience. The kind of audience that doesn't want to see fine jewelry tucked away in velvet boxes and safes. Are you noticing that? Are you noticing a shift in consumer behavior? Just their want now for cooler jewelry and newer jewelry, as opposed to buying, especially for an Indian girl, just a diamond set and then having it tucked away at the back of a safe.
No, I have seen a major shift that's happened. I think it was an ongoing shift, and in the past 2 years has kind of expedited it, where people are looking for more meaningful pieces. They're going deeper rather than going wider. And when it comes to, it might seem like our work resonates with a younger audience, but when I started the studio, that's the assumption that I made. But it's over the past 3 years, I've been pleasantly surprised where it's more about a psychographic rather than a demographic. It's for people who are looking for things that they don't have, things that they can connect with, things that have a narrative. So I've had 80-year-old women collect in like bracelets of ours which have inverted gemstones on it, for example. And when I ask them, I mean, what are you drawn to? What about this piece resonated with you? And they're like, I have a lot of jewelry, but I don't have anything like this. So again, it's more about a psychographic. It's more about going deeper and connecting with the piece and to the person who's created that piece.
So Anita, tell me, how you talk about everyday jewelry. How do you take everyday jewelry and put the Anita Ko twist on it? What is that process?
I mean, I think for me, it's, I use a lot of diamonds in my work. So it's about, creating pieces that are wearable and layerable for me a lot of times, because like Rahul was saying, that like a lot of my clients are also going deeper. Just because they have one style of necklace and it's a diamond necklace does not mean that they don't want a second or third that they can kind of layer and wear in different lengths and, create their own look for that particular woman, maybe layering a piece with Rahul's or Solange, and I create things that people can flow with. And so when I design, with my twist, I really try to, create things that are going to be at a certain length or that's set in a way that shows off the diamond. And I think like jewelry, many decades ago, they would set things really heavy in gold, and it didn't do anything to really bring light to the stones. And a lot of us that work with diamonds, they're our lives. We know how beautiful they are. They're magic. They're an element in this world that we were gifted with. And so we want to be able to highlight them instead of create things that people are worried that they're going to lose, but more to enjoy.
Absolutely. And speaking of which, Solange, when you experiment with your jewelry, do you like to use different diamond cuts and shapes? And what are some of your go-to cuts and shapes when it comes to setting your pieces?
Oh, I'll use anything. I mean, I love a diamond. I don't even care whether it's. I don't really mind about the cut and clarity. I like to say things are diamonds. My engagement ring was an uncut diamond. I love rose cuts, obviously. Everyone does. And I mean, one of the diamond cuts that I use are actually spherical diamonds. So they're pure round, and they're kind of a bit counterintuitive because you're supposed to facet a diamond so that it brings as much light as possible. However, these are so subtle, it looks like I designed it to look like a pearl necklace.
But
But then
It's
occasionally you get a kind of sparkle and people say, what is
Yeah.
that? What are you wearing? So I like
Yeah.
I like it when people don't quite know what they're looking at, and they have to discover what it is you're wearing.
That's always fun.
Yeah.
Rahul, what about you? Do you have a particular cut or shape of diamond that you kind of lean towards or that you prefer when you are creating your jewelry?
So, I think of late they have I've really been drawn to old mine cuts, especially movals. There's something very beautiful about how imperfect it might seem right now. And especially because I've come from, before I started Studio Renn, I used to source rough diamonds and cut and polish them. So I have a different kind of relationship with diamonds where it was always, the goal was to make it absolutely perfect. So somehow now that I'm designing jewelry, it's the imperfections that I'm more drawn to.
Were you ever nervous because your pieces aren't, I mean, like I said before, I mean, when someone thinks, oh, let me go out and buy my first piece of jewelry, they do think about like a tennis bracelet. Were you ever nervous when you thought, okay, I'm going to disrupt the industry a little, I'm going to make jewelry that is unique and is different in the sense, I mean, it's not something that you would regularly see. Did that ever make you nervous, or like I said, is there a huge client for that now?
I really didn't think about it that much. For us at the studio, it's the act and the process of creation that supersedes everything else. So when we started off, I mean, our goal has never been and will never be to disrupt. It's just to create, and not everything is for everyone. So we completely understand that, and we've just seen that I've been surprised by the number of people in India who are looking for something unique and purposeful. So
Absolutely. Anita, tell me, can you show us your version of an otherwise usual piece that you maybe put a spin on?
Sure. Like, in terms of bracelets, like I too love different shapes of diamonds, and I may put it on, on a Cuban chain instead of, a thinner, more classic chain, or onto a tennis bracelet. I have things like this. I also will add diamonds and make the lengths of the chains long,
yeah.
and then let it, wear it with open shirts or t-shirts or, slinky dresses. I'll use different cuts of diamonds.
I do think that is what's cool, if you are able to take a piece of jewelry and go from the t-shirt into the cocktail dress. I think that's
Yes.
when you've got a winner.
Well, I think that we as women today, we work, we're moms, we're, friends, you want to go to work, you want to meet a friend for dinner afterwards, you have other obligations that have to happen. So we really don't want to change our jewelry. We don't dress, many years ago, decades ago, women would change their jewelry 3 times a day if they were lucky enough to own it. And now, we don't wear things that way. We choose to purchase items that we know will work in so many different occasions, and we know that is our winner. I try to do things, I try to use round diamonds, ovals, rose cuts, and just mix them, match them, make them in diamond necklaces where we feel, cool and sexy. I'm born and raised in LA, so the sun and the water and the ocean and swimming pools and all of that are so influenced in my designs. And I think that we also wear much more casual clothing out here. So and then we may throw on a nice jacket to go to dinner instead of actually changing. And I think that's now almost everywhere. I'm sure Solange in London doesn't want to go home and change, and sometimes she has to run from the office to go to a girls' dinner, or, and I'm sure Rahul, he's working till dinner time at his office, and sometimes he needs to run out, meet his clients, and the clients are telling him, I need bangles that I can just wear morning, noon, and night. And I think that a lot of my clients say to me, because I have clients from all walks of life, but all of them say that they love that they can sleep in a lot of my jewelry, that they can kind of, it's just part of their life. And that's what makes me happy, because, we're so lucky, the three of us, that we get to create beautiful things. But I think it makes us just really happy when we hear that our clients feel that we know that they feel happy, and that they feel beautiful and strong and cool. So,
and I feel these are also the kind of pieces that almost become modern heirlooms. These are now the pieces you're going to be passing on one generation after the other, and it isn't the what the old thought cycle was anymore. It isn't that one little tennis bracelet. It's now the upgraded neo version of all of these, still kind of classic in their thought process, but then unique in design. So
yeah,
that's
and
what's
I'm
super
sure,
cool about it.
Of course, and I think all three of us have probably had clients come to us with heirloom diamonds or pieces that they've had inherited from their family, and asked us to reset and make something different and modern and cool. And so I'm sure all of us have had experiences with that, and that's, I think, why we are modern jewelry designers, is that we can take stones from that were worn generations before, and then create something where the woman today is like, I love it, this is me, thank you for turning my grandmother's necklace into this bracelet or this ring I can wear every day, because they didn't want to wear.
Do you actually have an example of an heirloom diamond that you then made into one of your pieces?
I just did one for a client. She brought in her mother's, her grandmother inherited to her mother a ring that was in an Edwardian style, and she's, she lives in Santa Monica, and she's on the go a lot. She travels so much, and she wanted to wear something that she wanted me to turn it into something that is her. And so I took the diamonds and I created a pinky ring, because she, loves to travel. She loves to go to Vegas, and she, I took the two large diamonds and I, put them together, and I took the other diamonds and I, made a couple bands with it, and it was something that she was able to wear in her pinky, and it was just so much cooler and edgier for her, and I think and she just was so happy. She was like, thank you, because now they're with me every day.
Okay. Solange, what about you? Could you show us an unusual piece of yours that would have been a classic, but with your twist on it?
I have, well, actually, I've got something here, but I have been given diamonds. I mean, I had one client who gave me a diamond that was so enormous, and she didn't know what to do with it. And I turned it into.
That's a good problem to have.
And we turned it into a ring that she actually wears quite frequently, because it's so. The setting is very modern, and it's such an enormous diamond that nobody can really believe that it's real. So she can walk down the street with it quite happily.
And everyone thinks it's just a little piece from Accessorize.
Yes, exactly. That's I think that's what's quite important about modern jewelry. I like to take away the precious factor, because you want to really be able to wear your jewelry as frequently as possible. So the less valuable or worshipful the design, the more enjoyable it'll be to wear, I think. It's funny, Anita was talking about LA and the sun and the sea and the sky, and I've designed a piece that's called the Storm Necklace, which is so related to England. It's basically got a huge labradorite storm cloud and then diamond lightning bolts falling off of it. So it's very much related to the English weather.
I can imagine.
Yes.
It's really nice to hear that from both of y'all. Like, y'all have really been influenced by the cities you all live in, because I mean, I feel the same way, that like Bombay is so in part of the studio's identity, and it's not only the city but also because of the city, the lack of it, that ends up like inspiring us.
It's
What
true.
about you,
It's
Rahul?
true.
Can you show me some of your more unique pieces? If you have any, or if you want to talk about any in particular?
So like when we were talking about us reacting to our environment, to the cities that we live in, we'd made it was a commissioned work for an architect. We'd made a concrete ring which featured a 2-carat pear-shaped diamond, and the ring was reinforced with golden diamonds. So, and it was a ring that we'd made in collaboration with another architecture firm. So, like Solange, when we were talking about kind of removing the precious element from diamonds, that's what the idea behind the ring was, that there was a certain brutalist quality to it, something extremely strong about it. It took us about a year to kind of, from concept to figuring out how the mechanism would work and getting the edges absolutely right. So it took us multiple tries. And as soon as all the edges were absolutely perfect, we decided to succumb to atrophy. We acid treated it. And so it's kind of, the idea was to relinquish that false sense of control that we constantly have, that metamorphosis is all around us. So why do we expect things to be permanent? So it's so apart from the material and the person I was making the ring for and the person I made the ring with, it is that sensibility, that treating it with the acid and relinquishing control, that made that piece what it was. And right at the end, I took an X-ray of that ring, and when I gave it to the collector, I showed her the X-ray and I said that X-ray is going to stay with me. That is the real work, not the ring
Right.
itself.
That is that just speaks volumes of how many stories are just linked to each piece of jewelry, and that's what I'm going to ask all three of you next. It's my last question to all of you. Anita, let's start with you. Do you have a piece of jewelry that had a really interesting story linked to it?
I mean, there's so many, but I definitely, I'm influenced by clothing a lot. So, from my diamond zipper collection, that I really wanted, I had to wear a dress that was a very simple dress, and there was just like no cool factor, no edge to it. And I thought creating my diamond zipper collection would bring that kind of wow factor to my outfit. And I think that kind of really was I think it was an interesting story because it was just came out of panic and needing something to wear that was going to, I had about 6 months, and I knew I had to wear this one dress, and I just felt it was just so not me just to be that simple, and I felt like I needed something that would make me feel wowed, and I was looking at an old pair of Levi's and the zippers on them. I thought, I know zipper necklaces have been made before. Let me try to do something in my own way. And I was so influenced by the Levi's zipper, and I took baguettes and I formed them in a way that zipper was made, and then it kind of created the zipper collection. And then recently I was looking at sequins, and I thought, God, wouldn't it be beautiful to have, sequins and that we could wear that were fine diamonds and gold. And so I just came up with the Luna collection, which was influenced by, not being able to wear black tie anymore, and not being able to, being stuck at home and feeling so like, I was looking at all my gorgeous party dresses they were so many sequins, and so I decided to make jewelry that looked like sequins, and that's the formation of my Luna collection. So I don't know if they're fun and interesting stories, but I definitely feel that they were a part of my life and how I was influenced. So
I love that. I love that. Solange, what about you?
Well, it was interesting, Rahul saying about the creation process, because sometimes it's the most fun part of the whole process.
Yeah.
Even more fun than seeing the final result. And sometimes I get very hung up and obsessed about an idea, and I know nobody but me is going to particularly care about it, but I have to get it out of my system. But I have one ring here that I'm wearing, and it's called the Bidi ring. So it's basically a diamond with another diamond set underneath it, and so sometimes they are right up one on top of the other, and this one is a little bit off center. And the first time I sold one of these rings to a client, she took it back to France, and it was a little bit the wrong size, so she took it to her trusted repair person there to make it a bit bigger. And when she went back to pick it up, she looked at it, she said, "What have you done?" And he had basically put the diamonds side by side, because he was so horrified that the diamonds were one on top of the other.
Oh my God.
And he changed completely the design. So
oh no.
He said, "On ne cache pas les diamants," as if it was sacrilege that I would. And she burst out crying and brought it back to me to fix. But I think that's a brilliant story. I love that story.
Were you able to fix it? Were you able to put
yes,
it back?
Yes, we had to
Okay,
actually
good.
remake it entirely. But what a cheek for somebody to take it apart.
At least that story had a happy ending, because I was feeling terrible for her, honestly. Rahul, what about you? Tell us an interesting story you have linked to a piece of jewelry. I would think the X-ray one is pretty up there, though.
Yes, but it was actually in the process of photographing one piece of one work of ours, one piece of jewelry, that I had noticed ruby reflections on a high gloss surface, and that really fascinated me. Where what I was drawn to was not the high gloss surface or the rubies, but the reflection, something extremely intangible, something that's fluid. There's a certain level of fluidity in those reflections that, as the piece moves, the reflections appear and disappear, and that kind of sparked an idea which kind of led us to design the orange peel ruby reflection bracelet, where we've used high gloss surfaces which reflect rubies which are hidden inside. So the person wearing it would never see the rubies, they would only see the reflections of it, and then they appear and disappear. So for me, that piece is particularly special because the creative process was very serendipitous. It's sort of like you just need to kind of focus, you need to be sensitive to everything around you and what's happening, and that's where you draw your inspiration from those kind of hidden moments that kind of just get lost otherwise.
Guys, thank you so much. This was such a lovely, insightful panel, and we on behalf of the jewelry industry, we thank you for being so disruptive and so cool with the pieces that you make. So thank you all so much for joining us today.